Welcome to Trauma Informed Yoga with Kaila. This is time to relax and reconnect with your body. I hope you enjoy your practice. If you are loving these videos, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Welcome to Trauma Yoga. Tonight we're going to begin laying face down on our yoga mat with either a block, a pillow, a bolster, another yoga mat, or just nothing underneath us. But if we're bringing it to that lower abdomen, we're allowing those arms to fall to their sides and allowing that head to rest onto our hands or wrists. Just listening to our body and beginning to bring awareness to the sensations that we might be feeling. Taking some breaths. Noticing what it feels like to have the object underneath that lower abdomen. The massaging feeling as we breathe. And as we begin to bring awareness into our body, into the space here on our yoga mat. So as we begin our practice here, we're going to begin to bring greater awareness within our body, within that felt sense, the sensations that we are currently feeling. You see, stress and trauma and PTSD, they live in the future and they live in the past. They do not live here in the present moment. So the opportunity of coming onto our yoga mat here allows us to take this time to live in this present moment, to be present within our body, in this space, in this safe place for us. So as we begin to bring awareness into our body, we begin to scan our body, noticing any sensations we're feeling, any tightness, stiffness, any emotions maybe we're feeling. And we'll start at our toes. So let's start by crunching up your toes nice and tight and allow them to relax. We'll do it one more time. Crunch up those toes nice and tight and allow your feet to relax, noticing the physical sensation in our feet and toes. We're going to begin to bring awareness to our legs, noticing the sensation in our legs. And if it feels good to you, you can bring some movement into your legs. Just playing around. What do our legs feel like here tonight? Noticing how our hips feel as they sink a little deeper into the object underneath them. Seeing if you can find a heartbeat in your lower abdomen. And once you found that heartbeat in your lower abdomen, can you find the heartbeat in your chest? Can you begin to bring awareness to that chest and a heaviness within that body, but noticing how the ground here holds us up. Relaxing down through our shoulder joints, allowing those shoulders to melt away from our ears. Feeling our forearms fall heavy and our forehead fall heavy into our hands or wrists. If it feels good, you can begin to rock your head side to side. And we're just going to massage out that ventral vagal line just a bit here. Giving a little massage and just noticing how that feels. Does it feel good? Does it maybe not feel like anything? Grab a sip of water. If you notice your mind wandering, we're going to bring it back to our breath and that felt sensation within your body. Checking in. A couple more deep breaths here. So I want you to imagine you are a tree base. Your entire body is at the base of this wonderful, giant, ancient tree. And through your body, you root down into the earth. That entire front side of your body begins to root into the earth, feeling the ground strong underneath you. Noticing how rooting down into the earth here connects us to the space, connects us to our mat. And that grounding sensation fills our body as we feel supported. A couple more breaths here, feeling that support, that gratitude within that grounding sensation. And if it feels good and you'd like to take out that block or bolster, you're more than welcome to do so. If you want to leave it there, you can do that too. We're going to begin to bend our knees and rock our knees side to side. Oh, I got a tickle in my throat tonight. Whenever it feels good, taking those legs out long, arms out long above you. You're going to stretch, reach those roots nice and long from end to end of your room. Taking a nice deep inhale here. Exhale, lifting legs, arms, everything up off the mat. As we hold here, we are going to notice that we are stimulating our vagal line. We're stimulating our dorsal vagal line, that stress response within the body, bringing that awareness back to breath, back to feeling the deep roots and grounding into that space. Let's take a couple more breaths as we hold. In 4, 3, 2, beginning to lower back down. Let it go. So if it feels good to you, you can bring your forehead back to your hands. You can also bring your hands back to the sides and drop your head off to one side. Again, it's your practice, so noticing what it is that you would like to do. All right, bringing those hands down by our sides, rolling those shoulders back and open, bringing our head back to that neutral position if it was off to one side. We're going to take a nice deep inhale, exhale, lifting up one more time. This time, our fingers reach back towards our toes. Lifting, breathing, noticing how we feel supported underneath that abdomen, rolling those shoulders back a little further, noticing if they start to creep towards your ears. In 4, 3, 2, lower back down. So again, you can rest that forehead onto those hands, or we're dropping our ear off to the opposite side this time. Breathing into those back ribs. Noticing what it feels like to fill the back ribs with air. How does that make us expand through our back body here? Can we find space and relaxation? Let's bring our hands underneath our shoulders. We're going to begin to press up and pressing it back into a child's pose. Reaching back, pressing back, noticing how we feel here in our child's pose as we begin to bring movement into our body, keeping that awareness with our breath. Inhaling forward, coming into a kneeling plank. Taking a breath here in your kneeling plank. We're going to bend our elbows back towards our sides, coming into a baby cobra, just a little mini one here, just a push up. Inhale, coming back up to that plank, pressing it back into your child's pose. Let's do another little mini flow, just like that. Inhaling forward into kneeling plank. Exhaling, cobra or crocodile. We're pressing it back up, pressing it back into child's. Let's do 2 more with your own breath. We've got the movement. We know what we're doing. You don't need to go very deep or low. You can just do a little mini push-up. And back. And we'll meet in our child's pose. Once you've done 2 full rounds, we'll meet in child's. Extending those hands forward, inhaling forward, coming onto all fours. We're going to stack our hands underneath our shoulders and our knees underneath our hips. If you'd like to, you can bend your toes into the ground, or you can allow those feet to fall flat. So we're going to practice. Today is very much about grounding and rooting into the universe. And so we're going to spread our fingers nice and wide, spreading them nice and wide, really gripping down through all 5 fingers, thinking like a gecko here. We've got that gecko grip with our ground underneath us. We find something that we call hasta bandha. Hasta bandha is our hand lock. So we're locking our hands down into the universe, noticing how we feel supported with the ground underneath us. Our shoulders roll back into our spine. Let's take our left hand up high towards the sky. Exhaling, threading that needle through. The left hand comes underneath the right arm. And we drop our left shoulder down, allowing that head to rest down if it feels good. So this is thread the needle. Begin to stretch out that backside body. I don't know why I've got such a tickle in my throat tonight. It's driving me bonkers. I do apologize, guys. Really grounding down through that right hand, feeling that hasta bandha, that grip lock onto the ground. We're going to press into our right hand, pressing back up, coming back with both hands underneath our shoulders. Really spreading those left hand nice and wide this time. Inhaling, right arm up high towards the sky. Let's exhale, right arm through, dropping that shoulder down. Coming into our thread the needle on the other side. Spreading those fingers nice and wide, really grounding down into the universe. So we're just stretching through our backside body, stretching through our rib cage, noticing sensations within our body and staying present with ourselves and our breath here. Let's ground down through that left hand, pressing into that left hand. Let's lift ourselves back up, 2 hands underneath our shoulders. You can begin to bring some titration, some movement to the body, some pendulation, if you will. So wiggling out that body and just noticing how we're feeling here as we opened up that back side. So we're going to come into a cat-cow. Now, cat-cow is really great for getting some movement through that spine, and we're practicing that hasta bandha, that grounding through our hands. So let's inhale, lifting heart center forward, dropping those shoulder blades down and back into our spine. Exhale, rounding, belly comes back up towards our spine, and we're pressing into our hands, really rounding. Inhale, lifting, arching, coming up into that cow. Exhale, pressing back into cat. Now moving with your own breath here, moving with your own flow, finding that rhythm within your body, finding that rhythm that feels good to you. So let's flow through a couple cat-cows at your own pace, using your breath. And any variation that maybe feels good to you, you can choose to come up onto those fingertips and come into that perched cat or perched cow. noticing how through our abdomen we massage out that spine. We create that mobility through our spine. So our dorsal vagal line, we have this vagus nerve. It's our fifth cranial nerve, and it is responsible for a lot of our autonomic nervous system's responses. And so our dorsal vagal line that runs on either side of our spine is where our stress response really stems from. That's that fight, flight, or freeze response. Let's do a couple more. Just keep flowing. When you feel like you've had enough, feel free to press it back into a child's pose. So as I often tell you guys in class, feel free to take child's pose at any point during your practice. This is a safe pose to come back to if we start to feel feelings of overwhelm, or we just need a little mini rest or break. We listen to our bodies, and that's half the beauty of being here in the present moment. It's just being here in this space with our body and just allowing ourselves to feel whatever it is that we need to feel. The biggest thing with overcoming stress and trauma and PTSD is really beginning to feel that feeling within the body, whatever it is that the body needs to feel. We need to feel to heal. So coming into this safe space and having that openness to feel whatever might arise. Inhaling, coming back up onto all fours, picking up our left leg, let's step it on through. Finding that kneeling lunge. So we should have our knee stacked over our ankle. We're in that wonderful kneeling lunge. So we are stretching out that hip flexor. And I want you to bring some awareness to that hip flexor. So let's just begin to just rub it gently. And so you'll notice you find it when you find that hip bone and it's just kind of right there. It's kind of like a, what's the right word? Like a ropey feeling. That there is your hip flexor. So bringing some awareness, some sensation to that hip flexor. This is where we store a lot of our stress within our body, is in our hips. So once we've found this wonderful deep lunge space, I want us to just press slightly back out of it. So we're just slightly easing out of it. So we're not coming back to a point where there's no tension, but we're just slightly easing out of it. And once you've slightly eased out of it, I want you to bring the lower part of your hip forward. So we're kind of like tucking that pelvis down and under and noticing what that sensation now feels like within the body. Did that change the sensation that you felt in that kneeling lunge? You can still begin to rub that space if it feels good to you. It's completely up to you. So we've got that awareness and we're noticing by tucking that pelvis under what that feels like. I know for myself, I begin to bring greater awareness from that hip flexor all the way down to my knee. So it's not about forcing the hip flexor into these exercises. It's just about allowing our hip flexor to find space, allowing it to understand where it is that we might be a little tighter and where it is that we might be able to find space and finding our breath. Again, if we start to feel like this is getting pretty intense, bringing that awareness back to breath, and at any time, taking child's pose. If you'd like a little bit of a deeper practice and really taking that lower vagal line and bringing it up to our upper vagal line, we're going to inhale that right arm up high towards the sky and reach up and over. So you're going to notice that we begin to massage out that upper ventral or upper vagal line. Yeah, and it is ventral line. So our ventral vagal line comes down the front side of our body, and that is that relaxation response. So as we stimulate our hip flexor with that tuck of the pelvis, we create a little bit of stress. We want to bring that awareness back to breath and filling those lungs laterally, breathing into that right rib cage there. Exhaling, right arm comes down beside our left foot. Our left hand reaches way forward and comes back towards that hip bone. We're coming into that little bit of a deeper lunge. If it feels good to you, you can choose to stay here. If you'd like to take a little further, we're going to begin to rotate that chest towards that left knee, opening up to that left side. So I know we've done lots of eye work in these practices, and eye work is so critical for helping us to realign that nervous system. It allows the muscles on the back of our cranium or on the back of our skull to begin to relax, and it allows our vertebrae to come back into alignment. So our upper two vertebrae begin to come out of alignment when we have negative thoughts, when we suffer from stress, anxiety, depression. All of those kinds of things take our spine out of a natural alignment, and it really is a great response for our body because it takes us into that ability to come into survival mode. Exhaling, coming back down and forward, stepping back, finding that child's pose. So yes, survival mode is a great thing. It has a purpose, but to always be in survival mode makes it very difficult for us to sometimes think and live our lives. And so by those two upper vertebrae coming out of alignment, what takes place is it actually constricts blood flow to the frontal lobe of your brain. Well, our frontal lobe is involved in decision making, the critical thinking aspect of our days. So if we're suffering from chronic stress and anxiety and negative thoughts and all of those things that really affect our stress levels within the body, and those two upper vertebrae are out of alignment, and we cannot think critically. We cannot think necessarily properly the way we should be able to think if everything was in a great alignment. So we use our eye work to begin to bring us back into that alignment, to allow our nervous system to reset. Inhaling, coming up and forward. This time, we're stepping through with our right foot. So finding that deep lunge, that knee in line with our ankle, that nice, beautiful, deep lunge. Practicing, listening to that body. We're going to begin to massage out now the other side. So I'm going to turn so that I can see you and you can see me. So we're going to begin to massage out that hip flexor, noticing it, bringing awareness to this time to our left hip flexor. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that that tickle left my throat. So beginning to bring awareness to that hip flexor. We're going to press out of that lunge slightly, just easing out slightly, tucking that lower part of our hip down and under and feeling that stretch. Oh my gosh, one of these sides is tighter than another, hey? So bringing awareness to that sensation that maybe we're feeling and noticing where we're feeling it in our body. Bringing awareness is, do I need to ease off a little bit more? Do I maybe need to untuck my pelvis a little bit? Or am I in a safe state? Does this feel okay within my body? So we want to go to a point of feeling a stretch, but not forcing a stretch. We don't want to push a stretch too far. But as we come into these exercises with our hip flexors, we tend to poke that tiger a little bit, right? We tend to kind of play with, is this the edge? So listening to our body, knowing that we are safe and that this is okay, but knowing also where our edge is and where we need to practice a little bit of grace to our bodies. Now, as we begin to open up that upper vagal line, we're going to inhale that left arm up high towards the sky, coming up and over. So we're going to bring that awareness to breath in that left side body here. Really breathing into those left ribs, opening up through that left side body, massaging out that upper vagal line. Couple more breaths here. Exhale, that left hand comes down beside our right foot. Our right hand comes back, it reaches towards our hips. And we begin to rotate towards that right leg Again, only if it feels good to us, we begin to rotate. This is completely up to us. This is our practice. This is our movement. Breathing, bringing that awareness into the senses within our body. Bringing our awareness to massaging out that spine, to wringing out each vertebrae as we rotate, using that breath to guide us towards that knee. Taking one more deep inhale here. Exhale, stepping it back, pressing it back, child's pose. Okay, so I was warming you guys up to eye movement, and I promised you we would do it, kind of. So we're going to come into some eye movement. So we're going to inhale forward onto all fours. So from all fours, we want to begin to bring awareness and movement through our upper thoracic spine, so through our upper back, essentially. And so to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to drop our left shoulder towards our left hip, creating that crunching sensation on the left side. So this is a version of half salamander. I think we've done a couple half salamanders before in practices. So this is a version of that. So as we're crunched nice and tight on that left side, and you can feel that side body really constricting, we're going to take that head and look over that left shoulder. I want you to see if you can find your left toes. So keeping that body crunched. Now, without moving our head, we're going to take the eye gaze back over to those left fingertips. Can you find your right fingertips without moving your head? So just the eye gaze. If you notice that your eyes float and they keep coming back to the center, that's okay. You keep directing them back to where you want them to go. If you start to feel dizzy or nauseous, you can come out at any time. But once you yawn, sigh, or swallow, that's when I recommend you come out. So continue holding until you've yawned, sighed, or swallowed. And then you bring your eyes back into center and bring your body back center. Take as much time as you need here to allow your body to adjust and allow that nervous system to come back into alignment. So once you've yawned, sighed, or swallowed, you can untuck that side, bringing that head back in alignment. Give yourself a little bit of a rock. I'm going to just allow a couple more moments. For some of us, this might take a little longer, and that's okay. We're just listening to our bodies. Wonderful. This time, let's crunch that right side. Really bringing that right shoulder down towards our right hip. Crunching it nice and tight. We're going to take that head and look over that right shoulder as far as it is available to us. We're gazing out for those right toes. Keep looking over that right shoulder. And this time we're taking our eye gaze without moving our head, and we're bringing it back to our right fingertips, and then searching that gaze over to our left fingertips. Can you find the left? Again, if you continue to notice the eyes float back, keep directing them off to the left. Keep reminding them to come left. And once you've yawned, sighed, or swallowed, you're going to come back to center just like we did last time, resetting that nervous system. So once you've come back to center, give yourself that little bit of a wiggle, let that stretch go. If it feels good to go into a little cat-cow, feel free to do that. Again, your practice. All right. Let's curl our toes under, pressing it back and up into a downward facing dog. So if downward facing dog is not available to us today, we can choose to take puppy, similar version. We're just shortening that lever. So same idea here. Your choice, downward facing dog or puppy. Pulling that belly button back and in. So as we pull that belly button back and in, I want you to imagine that belly button comes back and in towards your spine and then up towards your lungs a little bit. This here we call belly lock. So that belly lock, that ability to pull that belly up and in, keeping that core nice and tight. We're going to lift our right leg up high towards the sky. We're going to step it on through, finding that lunge and then walking our hands along the long edge of our mat, our toes turned to one side. We can walk our hands up our legs. You should have nice wide feet. I'm going to take us into a little bit of a side body experiment here. So we're going to come into something that is called moon salutations. So moon salutations are a great way to practice using both the right side and the left side of our brain, and also to just begin to bring awareness within that body. So we're going to inhale up into that 5-pointed star, feeling that nice, beautiful star. Arms are extended, heart center is lifted. Exhaling, elbows back and down into our sides, sinking down into our moonflowers. Wonderful. Inhaling up, we're going to turn to our right side. Turning over, we find right lunge. And it does not have to be a deep lunge, just a little lunge. Shifting our weight onto our right leg, we're going to lift up, coming into a toppling tree. So you can leave that toe down on the mat if it feels better to you. Exhaling, left foot back, down and open, opening it up nice and wide. We come down into our prayer squat. Inhaling, reaching up high towards the stars. 5-pointed star. Wonderful. Exhale, down into our moonflower. Elbows coming into the sides. Inhaling, turning to our left side this time, coming over into our lunge. Shifting our weight forward into that left leg, we're inhaling, lifting up, finding that toppling tree on the other side. Wonderful. Replace that right foot back and down. Inhale up. We'll do it one more time each side. 5-pointed star. Exhale, elbows down into our sides. Moonflowers. Inhaling over to that right side, finding that lunge. Taking a round of breath. And then we exhale, lifting that weight forward, coming forward into our toppling tree on that right side. Planting that left foot back and down. Inhaling down into our prayer squat. Inhaling, lifting up into 5-pointed star. Exhaling down into moonflowers, elbows coming into our sides. Inhaling up and over into that lunge on the left side this time. Taking a round of breath. Shifting our weight forward, exhaling, toppling tree. Inhaling, planting that right foot back and down. Inhaling up. Exhaling, our hands to our sit bones, so hands onto our glutes. And we're going to bend through those knees and allow that heart center to shift our weight forward, allowing those sit bones to rise to the sky, imagining that our hands stay back in our pockets. Forward fold. Now, if it feels better to you today, you can choose to bring your hands down onto your mat, onto your shins, onto a block, or you can choose to leave your hands in your back pocket. It's completely up to you. We're extending through those knees, lifting those sit bones up high towards the sky, allowing the head to let go. Breathing. So I threw something a little new to you guys today. And I did that for purpose. I told you today at the beginning of class here that this is very much about grounding down. This is very much about rooting down into the universe. And so I decided that with that grounding feeling, we also need to focus on what does it feel like to come a little bit out of what is expected, what we expected our class to be. Part of yoga is removing those expectations, removing that judgment, and just allowing ourselves to be here in the present moment and to feel what we need to feel. Extending those hands down to the mat if they're not already there. We're walking them around that right foot, taking a nice deep bend through that left knee, step that back foot in. Inhale, reverse that swan dive up nice and tall. Exhaling down through heart center. So we should come into a mountain pose. So mountain pose, you can have your hands at heart center, hands down by your sides. Again, completely up to you. So going with our feeling of grounding and really reaching into the earth, we're going to lift our toes and spread each toe down into our mat and shift our weight into our toes and allow our heels to come down into our mat. Rolling those shoulders back and open, allowing that heart center to lift, allowing ourselves to lift up out of that waist, standing nice and tall, grounded and firm. We're going to inhale our right arm up high towards the sky, reaching that right arm up, extending that left arm down, and paying attention to what it feels like to breathe once again into that right side body. So we did this from a kneeling position, but what does it feel like to open up that upper vagal line through breath while standing? Can we ground into that right foot? Can you ground into your left foot? What does it feel like to reach up a little higher, to breathe a little deeper into that right rib cage and find a little bit more space and mobility here? Taking one more full round of breath. Exhale, let the hand go. Inhale, left arm up high towards the sky, reaching that right arm down towards the ground, reaching up out of your waist through that left side body. Breathing to the left rib cage, expanding each intercostal muscle, the muscles in between each rib here, expanding them nice and wide and finding that space, noticing yourself growing a little taller, reaching a little further, grounding down through all four corners of your feet. Exhale, let it go. Wonderful. Let's take a step back. So planting our hands onto our mat, we'll step it back into a kneeling plank or a full plank, your choice. So your choice. We're just going to, again, begin to poke that tiger a little bit. So from kneeling plank or from full plank, we're going to begin to just find that little bit of a stress response. And the easiest thing to do with a stress response in a plank is just to hold. So kneeling plank or full, your choice. Let's hold. Let's find that little bit of a stress response. Let's take ourselves into that feeling of discomfort. So noticing those shoulders roll down away from our ears. Our ribs tuck slightly down towards our hips. Our bum isn't high to the sky. It's tucked nice and firm. We're pressing back through our heels, but our glutes are not engaged. They are just relaxed. Allowing that core to do the work, pressing down through all 5 fingers, breathing. Let's do one more full round of breath. Exhale, drop the knees. If they're not already dropped, press it back, child's pose, let it go. So take any variation of child's pose that feels good to you. You can choose to have your hands down by your sides. Let it go. Noticing the thoughts that race through your mind and just simply observing them. We're not changing them or judging them. We're just observing. Noticing what it is that you need to do to bring yourself out of that little bit of a stress state. Can I take deeper breaths in and out through my nose to calm myself? Do I have an affirmation or a saying that I say to myself to help bring myself back into that sense, that awareness of what's going on for me? The affirmation that I often use for myself is, I'm here and I'm willing to experience this. And what that means for me is that it means that I'm here and I'm open to anything that arises, and I'm open to the opportunity, good, bad, indifferent, whatever that might be. But I came here on my mat for a reason, and I'm willing to experience whatever might arise. Let's breathe one more time. Wonderful. Coming back up, slowly pressing up, coming onto our knees. Oh. All right, so we're going to come into a modified hero pose. So I'm going to turn to my side so you can see me. So you have the option to stack your toes here, or you can choose to lay your feet flat. Again, it's completely up to you. I like stacked toes. So hero pose is traditionally just sitting up nice and tall. So this is an option. You can choose to stay in hero pose, sitting up nice and tall, shoulders relaxed back and down. Back is nice, long, firm. If you'd like to take this a little bit further and open up a little bit more through that front side body, what we're going to do is we're going to take our hands back behind us and open up through that chest. Now, if you're a little tight like I am through my chest and you've got a yoga block nearby, you can choose to use your yoga blocks to allow your hands space to come onto. But if you don't have those yoga blocks, it is easier if you relax those feet down and reach back. So whatever option it is that you've chosen, whether you're seated up tall in your hero, you've got your feet propped up, or you're relaxing down, your choice. And all we're going to do, if your hands are back behind you, is you're going to lift your hips up slightly towards the sky. So you should notice a little bit of sensation in through your quad muscles. So this is our supported back bend for the evening here. So really beginning to lift through heart center, noticing your shoulders roll down and open. Can you press a little bit more into your fingers? Can you ground down through the tops of your feet or down through your toes, depending on which way you are planted? Can you root down into the earth through your hands? Can you find that hasta bandha, that hand lock into the universe here? Lifting those hips up a little higher, breathing. Opening through that front line, that front side body. Exhale, let it go. Let those sit bones sink back and down, walking those hands back and forward. We're going to shift our legs off to one side. Bringing our legs around, finding that butterfly pose. So butterfly pose. Our knees fall open and we're not forcing them, we're just allowing them to be wherever it is that they feel good. Sitting up nice and tall, shoulders relaxed back and down. Now, if you find yourself constantly rounding in this posture, it is helpful to have a block and to sit your sit bones up on your block. It'll help you with that posture and that alignment, completely up to you. So when we are looking to ground and root down into the earth here, we often think of rooting as our root chakra, our red sacral chakra, right? So that root chakra here, we're going to lift all of the muscles that are closest to the earth up away from the earth. So I want you to imagine, it's called mula bandha or root lock, right? So we're pulling all the muscles that are closest to the earth up towards our stomach, essentially. So I want you to pull up towards your stomach. So to engage that mula bandha, it'll feel a lot like, for females, it'll feel like you're trying to stop the flow of urine. And for males, it'll feel like you've stepped into a pool of very cold water. So pulling that mula bandha up and back into that body, finding that root down into the earth, rolling those shoulders open, breathing. Wonderful. Bringing that awareness back into breath, back into that felt sense within the body. Let's do a little body scan here and just begin to bring awareness to how we're feeling. So we did our body scan at the beginning of class, laying face down. So we're going to do this one seated. So you can choose to stay seated in butterfly. You can choose to come into a half lotus. You could do an easy seated pose where you're just crisscross. Completely up to you and whatever it is that you're feeling within your body and however feels good for you to sit. A lot of people find that it's easiest to have one foot in front of the other. Completely up to you. So let's bring our awareness into our body and just noticing how do our shoulders and our arms feel, and give them a little wiggle. How does our back and our chest feel? Give it a little wiggle. How do our toes and our feet feel? Just give them a little wiggle. How do our legs feel? How does our lower body and our abdomen feel? Scanning right from the tip of our forehead all the way down to our toes, checking in and noticing and sending breath wherever it needs to be to relax. Wonderful. So we're going to take these legs out nice and long in front of us. We're going to bend one leg. We're going to come into sage pose here. So one leg is bent, one leg is out in front of us. From here, we're going to take, so if your right leg is bent, you're going to use your right arm. If your left leg is bent, you're going to use your left arm. So whatever arm is the same arm as the leg that is bent, you're going to take it out in front of you and begin to wrap it around that leg. So we're just wrapping it as far as we can around that leg and keeping the chest coming forward. So pulling onto that leg, we're opening up through that right or left rib cage, but through the rib cage of the bent knee. Noticing how that feels in that backside body and the tension that maybe it creates. Can you apply a little bit more pressure through your arm, through your leg? Can you flex the opposite foot? Can you pull those toes back towards your face? And exhale, let it go. Let's switch legs. Finding that sage pose on the other side. Flexing the opposite toes, so the leg that is out long, we're going to flex those toes. Taking the same arm as the bent leg, reaching it forward, reaching it around that leg, reaching around, and kind of hinging forward. So noticing what it feels like to open up through the backside body on this side. Awareness of sensation, awareness of stretch. Where are we feeling the stretch? Can I breathe into that backside body? Let's take a couple more breaths. And exhale, let it go. Wonderful. All right, let's grab onto the back of one leg and begin to roll down into our mat. Let's bring our knees towards our chest and just taking any rocking that needs to take place here. Massaging out that backside body. So we're going to plant our feet down onto the ground. We're going to tuck our pelvis just slightly so that we can find that that lower abdomen falls flat, our low back rests onto our mat. And I want you to just bring awareness back to that breath, but noticing, is there a way that you can find space in those lower vertebrae? Can you elongate your spine in any way? Can you roll those shoulders down and back into your mat? Can you feel your shoulders fall open? Noticing the sensation in our lower abdomen. Noticing the heaviness through our tailbone as it's tucked here, creating that weight underneath our body. If you'd like a little bit More opening through that chest. You can choose to come into those cactus arms if it feels good to you. And let's begin to rock our feet side to side. Or our knees, I should say, our knees, rocking our knees side to side. So we're just going to relieve a little bit of tension here today. So next week, we're going to go fully into our psoas shake. Today, we're going to just do a little bit of the psoas shake. So we're just going to open ourselves up just a little bit, easing into it. So finding that stillness will allow the palms of our feet to fall open, allowing those knees to fall open, and bringing our hands down to those hip bones, or that hands down to that, to your hip flexor muscle, right? To the psoas muscle. Rolling those shoulders back and down, bringing that sensation and awareness to that psoas muscle. And if it feels good to you today, we're pressing into our feet, lifting our hips up, even just like a centimeter up off the mat, and allowing ourselves to go through the motion of whatever it is that we need to feel. So my body has done this quite a bit. It immediately will go into rocking or shaking. But the more often you do this, the more accustomed your body is to just feel whatever motion it needs to feel. So our hips are slightly lifted up off our mat. And we're just allowing any movement to take place that needs to take place. If it feels better to have your hands by your side, we're just going to allow that to happen. Breathing into that lower abdomen. Grounding down through the sides of your feet and through the tops of your shoulders. You're rooting into the earth, feeling strong, supported and grounded as we lift our hips just slightly here to find a little bit of motion through those hip flexors. If you're not moving, that's okay. Just gonna breathe into that lower abdomen. Allow your body to just feel whatever it needs to feel and move however it needs to move. It's a little peculiar to go through this sometimes, and we're not always sure of how I should be moving, but we're just allowing our body to do simply what it needs to do because we're here present on this mat in this space right here, right now. Breathing. You can even choose to do that little bit of a body scan if it feels good to you. Scanning from the top of your head all the way down your body, noticing anything that you're feeling throughout the process, any sensations in any spaces of your body. Taking those breaths deep into that lower abdomen, grounding down through the universe, checking in with your body, allowing those hips to relax down onto the ground if they've been lifted. Taking some breaths. Inhaling through the nose, exhale, audible ha sound. Let's do two more just like that. Inhale, exhale. One more just like that. Allowing those knees to come back up, our feet to plant back onto the mat. And let's just windshield wiper out those hips just a little bit. Let's do whatever they need to do to feel good back in that space. Using your own breath to guide you side to side. Listening to our body. We're going to come up here into happy baby before we go into our final Savasana. So allowing those legs to float up high towards the sky. Our feet are going to stand as if they're standing on the ceiling. So this is our first point of happy baby. You could choose to come up and just reach your arms up. This can be your version of happy baby. If you've got a strap or a belt, you could wrap it over your palms, the balls of your feet, and pull down on either side. If you'd like to go a little further, you can choose to grab on to the outside or the inside of your feet, your choice. So grabbing onto our feet, driving those knees down on either side of your body, pulling down with your arms, dropping those shoulders back into the spine, extending up through the heels, allowing that body to feel that dynamic tension as you push through your feet and pull with your arms. So again, like I said, if you don't want to grab on and you're not able to grab on today, we can just come into this position, this legs up a wall style position. Noticing if your body is still shaking or vibrating a little bit from that little taste of our psoas shake that we did. And that's okay. We're just allowing ourselves to move how it needs to move and to feel how it needs to feel. If we need to move or shake, just keep allowing yourself to move or shake. If it feels better to keep your feet down on the mat and windshield wiper your knees back and forth, please feel free to do that. Let's take one more full round of breath here. Exhale, let it go, bringing those feet back down onto the ground, allowing those shoulders to roll down into your mat. And this time, if it feels good, you can either choose your knees to knock inward on each other for our final Savasana, or you can choose to extend those legs out long. So this is our version of our Savasana. We begin to soften our gaze. Now I'm going to sit up only to read you our little bit of meditation coming into this. So you stay here. As you lay down and you feel the ground rise up to catch and support you, feel yourself grounded into the earth. Watch your worries wash away. You are here now. You are here alive and you are cared for. You are protected. Allow your eyes to close softly as the waves of your worries grow still and subside. Calm waters. Eyes closed, you are safe. Take a deep, long breath. Feel it in every inch of your body. Visualize your breath as it travels through your nose, down your throat, into your lungs. Feel your chest expand as the breath filters through your lungs. Feel the air go down into your belly. Feel your pelvic bone and thighs. Let things grow heavy and your spine to ground down into the earth. Continue to breathe. Travel down with your breath. Visualize your journey. Throat, lungs, belly, low back, into the deepest part of our spine. Focus on the end of our tailbone and see your root chakra. That bright red chakra staring back at you. Watch as the red light grows larger and expands across your low back. The red light is warm and soothing. Feel that red light like a supportive hand on your low back. Let the red light spread across your lower back and heal. Ground down into your root chakra. Feel the breath as it rises from the space of your spine. Allow that red light to travel upwards with that healing. Feel the light wash through your whole body. Outside, nothing is happening. Inside, your root grounding chakra glows. Just lay here for a couple moments and just breathe. Just be here in this space. I'll call you back when it's time to come back. Beginning to bring our awareness back into the space, back into our body. We wiggle our fingers and our toes, rocking our wrists and our ankles. We rock our head side to side. Reaching our hands up overhead, stretching our body out nice and long. And then taking the opportunity to roll onto our side body. Spending as much time on our side body as we need before we begin to bring ourselves up to an easy seated position near the top of our mat. Thank you all for joining me here tonight. The light in me bows and honors the light in you. Namaste.